Alright, here is the turntable record player out of this is actually a 1947 or 48 kind of console radio record player that my father-in-law gave me. Kind of a bit of a basket case. It came in pieces. There's the the cabinet for it, which is sort of a restoration has started but stopped. And then over here is the radio, which I haven't started on. I figured I'd start on this turntable, see if I can get it working. Unfortunately, it's a 78 only because, what 33s came out in 48, so I think this was right at the time when LP records were coming out. But let's see if we can get it working again. I'll clean it up for now and check out the mechanism, and certainly got some unusual automation here. We'll see how it all works. Well, I managed to get the platter spindle assembly removed in order to get to the motor. It's got some bad mounts here which have to be replaced, and the idler wheel looks to be in okay shape. It looks like a General Industries motor. Now to remove this, the spindle there's no clip or anything holding it on. What it is there's a gear on the back side of this thing. There's a little press fit pin that you have to push out. I just used a drift with a hammer, kind of got that thing moving. It eventually popped right out. But that's what holds this assembly onto the rest of the turntable. So you need to push that pin out to get this thing off. So I'll go ahead and pull the motor out, clean it up, lubricate it, make sure it works, and check out the condition of this idler wheel here, and see if I can order some motor mounts. I got the motor pulled out. Looks like it's dirty, but hopefully in good shape. Just has the motor comes out and has a little spindle here that turns the idler wheel. So of course it's 78 only turntable, so none of that fancy speed changing stuff, just standard single speed. Now here's the remnants of the motor mounts, and I did some measuring of the things that hold it in, and that seems to match up with that guy right there, which is from the VM website. They've got a lot of parts for old record players and turntables, so I'll probably go ahead and order those from them. They're only $1 a piece. I'll probably get about 10 of them just for have some spares. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart, pull the idler wheel assembly off, clean it up, and then take the motor apart, clean it, and lubricate it, and put it back together and check it out. Alright, let's take a look at this motor here. Pull this clip. Get the idler wheel off. It looks really in pretty good shape. I think just a little bit of rubbery new treatment and it'll be ready to go. So now we can get to the spring here. Kind of holds the idler wheel assembly together. Take that off. There's another clip that holds the whole thing on. want that to go flying like they do sometimes, so a little bit gentler. And there it is. Now this needs to come off completely. And this is a little sliding mechanism, so that'll have to clean up and re-lubricated. So this system here, 3 nuts that hold it on. Spacer here, save that. Okay. Now, I'll freeze up the motor. So that assembly should just come right apart. There we go. And we'll clean that up. Lubricate the bearings in here and put it back together. Alright, just cleaned that up a little bit with damp cloth. What I think I'll do is take a little special turntable lube, which is really just 0-20 Mobil 1 motor oil. Just lubricate these bearings. I use 3-in-1 oil too a lot, which just works very well also. Okay. Go. It's spinning nice and freely now. Assemble here. The lock washer and nut on each of these. Stab myself in that. Okay, that's all there is to disassembling the motor and getting it lubricated. It is ready to go for another 50 years. I'll go ahead and clean this up and get it lubricated too. Well, here's a tip. Watch out using alcohol around the little marking here for the General Industries motor type. It just took that decal right off, or paint or whatever it was. Let's just clean this up with some alcohol. So careful there. go ahead and clean this up here. And this is the little slider that the idler wheel rides in. It allows it to go up against the rim here of the platter and turn it. So this has to be free moving so that the little spring and the forces of whatever traction kind of let that thing move properly. Get it good and clean. And then put some oil on it. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Up the shaft here that the idler wheel goes on. Trying not to get any oil on that. I'm still going to clean it anyway, but okay, I'll go ahead and get this reassembled here. Oil on that pivot shaft. Attach the spring. Okay. That seems to be working fine. Leave this off because I'm going to use some rubber renew on that. This on. There we go. Okay. Rubber renew. I think this wheel, this idler wheel, is going to work well because that seems to be pretty grippy and in good, decent shape. From there. All right. It's got some good torque against the motor shaft. That's going to work okay if that motor's good. So here's why you take pictures when you disassemble stuff.
I was thinking that little washer went underneath the wheel, but as I look at the picture I took before I disassembled it, I see that it goes on top of the wheel. So I need to take that back apart and redo it. There we go. That's how it's supposed to work. Alright, all fixed. Alright, I'm going to do something a little dangerous here, but that's why I'm using the isolation transformer over there and a dim bulb tester. I want to test this motor out to see if it'll turn. And here's the connector, which I don't want to hook it up to where the connector would go because it's still disassembled. So I've just wired up a a power cord here and just alligator clipped it over to the other side. So in case I get a short, it'll just light up the light bulb rather than having sparks fly and circuit breakers breaking and everything else. So if I flip the switch, hopefully the light bulb stays off and the motor starts turning. And there it goes. It's got some pretty good torque. It's very quiet. Not too bad. So, successful test. Now I'll show you why you use this. So if for some reason these came together, I've got it turned off right now, but if they did, we had a dead short. There's a dead shorted here deliberately. So all would happen when you turn the light, the dim bulb tester on as you light the light. So no sparks flying or anything, just the light going off. It's a nice safety tip. Here's another thing we can check out while we got the motor out and all hooked up to the dim bulb tester. Is we can put the switch into the manual mode. It fires up the motor. Back to off. And it stops. And then to the auto mode, which is right there. And then that fires it back up again. So it looks like the switch is good and the motor. So I'm just going to wait on parts to get the motor mounts ordered, and this should be ready to go. I think what I might do here while I'm waiting is test out that cartridge. I don't really know if it's any good. I think I might hook a scope up to it and scrape my finger on it and see if it makes a noise. And if it doesn't, then if it's completely dead, I'll see if I can maybe order one from the VM website too. While I'm also ordering those motor mounts. Alright, I got the scope connected up to the cartridge here. So what I'm going to go do is just kind of flip that with my finger just a little bit. Just kind of tickle it and see what it does to the scope. So we're seeing some action there. So I think that cartridge is okay, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. We'll see how it plays a record later on. Well, I have ordered a few parts for this turntable. Number one, the little mounting rubber things here for the motor. Got an order from the VM website, so hopefully they come soon. And while waiting, I also got a new needle too. This has one of those removable straight needles. You just unscrew this and pull the needle out. So I ordered another one of those with a sapphire tip to kind of play my 78s. And so while waiting, I used a little turtle wax, rubbing compound, and wax to kind of clean up the deck here a little bit. So it's nice and clean and shiny. Looks pretty decent. So that's about ready to go here, and until get some more parts. I also went and lubricated all of these mechanisms, so all the changer stuff. And the switch is all freed up now. It all seems to be working properly. So we'll see when I get all the parts and get the motor mounted. We'll see if everything works properly. Now this is actually a very strange automatic mechanism here, which I have not seen before. It has these two kind of linked arms. You know, usually the changer has something built into the spindle itself with some type of an arm that holds the records, and you know, it's the normal way to do it. This is a little different. You can see this is for 78s only. It's got one marked 10 for 10 inch and one marked 12 for 12 inch. Now, they had 78s in both 10s and 12 inch, but 10 was the most popular. So let me grab a couple of 10 inch 78s. I don't have the whole thing set up yet. The motor's still not installed, so I can't do a full-up test, but I can manually kind of run this. So what happens when the automatic system starts is it kind of does this and then moves back, drops one, and then when it gets ready to change to the second one, it does it again, drops the second one. Now when you want to take the records off after playing them, of course you can't, so I think what you manually do is pull up on this and rotate this around to that point where you have this flat section available, and then you can pull the records off. I don't have any 12-inch 78s, but I'll simulate the process here with a couple of 12-inch LPs. Here. If I can find the spindle. So this doesn't exactly work right because these are set to go in between shellac records, which are a little thicker than these vinyls, but I'll see if I can get it to work. So it's going to kind of do this, and here's where you see you need to lift that up because normally this would be a little thicker. And drop the 112-inch down, come back like that, and play the 12-inch 78, and then it would drop the second one. And play that, and there's a little sensor here that senses whether or not there's a record there or not. So I think that's how it knows to turn the record player off when it's done. And then once again, you turn these to the flat section here to take the 12-inch records off. So I believe that's how it's supposed to work. Once we get the motor mounts, get the motor reinstalled, we'll be able to give that a try and see if it actually does work that way. Alright, I got the order from the VM website, and got my motor mounts here. Ordered 10 of them just to have extras. Here's kind of what they look like. They have a little cone shape to them. And I mounted these with a cone sitting down like that on the motor. That seems to give it the right amount of spacing to get the idler wheel up off the chassis here. So go ahead and put the platter back on. Now you got to reach in here with that little screwdriver here, just push this idler wheel back so that it goes back behind the rim. There we go. Let's turn the unit on here and spin it up. That seems to be working. A good amount of torque. Fairly quiet. So I'll put the little gear back on, which holds the platter on and allows the auto mechanism to work. And then we'll give that a try. Alrighty, looks like got this thing working. Got a couple old records I'll play on it. These are these Tops records. They were like real low budget records, and somehow they squeezed 2 songs on instead of 1. So I don't know if they made the grooves smaller or whatever, but they did something weird. So I've got this hooked up to just a stereo amplifier and a single speaker, just because this thing hasn't been recapped yet, so I don't want to try using it as an amplifier. But let's give it a spin here, show you how this works. It's pretty cool. So I'll put 2 records on, and you know, this is, you move this thing out of the way to get the records on there. And you put it to so the 10-inch is pointing in, so like that. And you hit on. See, it goes in and drops 1 and starts playing.
If I ever needed you.
I'll hit the reject here. Decide I want to listen to that second one instead. Away it goes. There's a little sensor here that tells if there's a record still on to be played or not. So you'll see at the end of this record, if this run-out groove is good enough to, these records are seriously worn out. There it goes. So it should turn itself off now that there's not a 3rd record to play, and it does. It's pretty awesome. So it looks like that cartridge has got plenty of output. Pretty good, I didn't want to have to replace it. Got this set on 50 millivolts. There's 0.1 millivolts. I'm still getting probably close to a volt or more out of the cartridge. So, excellent. So that'll end the video on this part of the, at least the turntable restoration, and now I'll release another one when I get the radio working and the amplifier, and a 3rd one when we get the cabinet all restored and everything put back together. So that's it for now.